Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Vivek Pandya, Senior Digital Insights Manager at Adobe. Thank you for joining us, Vivek.
Thanks very much for having me.
And what we're talking about is your 2020 holiday shopping predictions. First of all, it's interesting that Adobe's doing this. Most people, I suppose, don't associate Adobe with much beyond imaging kinds of things or PDFs, but obviously you're doing a lot more.
That's right. Yes. So Adobe has obviously the creative products and PDF and all these products that people know us very well for. We also have a product set that allows us to support enterprises of all different sizes. And that allows us to tap into analytics data that gives us a really good sense of how online spending is changing through different months, and especially during the holiday season when we put out our annual report.
And it seems you've got a pretty optimistic forecast for this holiday season spending. Tell me about it.
Definitely. So we're looking at $189 billion in spend this holiday season, and that's about 2 years worth of online retail growth compressed into one season. And what we're looking at closely is how consumers look to spend when they can't travel and put some of their disposable income to activities such as that. We're thinking through how people are looking to get gifts and send them to relatives and friends, especially as there's a desire to make sure that even though they can't be near relatives and friends in person as much as they were in previous years, they can at least send gifts to them. What we also think is happening is as offline stores have they're managing potential congestion that could happen in the season. We're seeing certain retailers opt to stay closed. And as a result, we're seeing some of that offline absorption happen back into the online landscape, much as like we did during the earlier months of the pandemic.
Well, some might find these figures surprising because of the economic impacts of COVID-19. So is there an explanation for that? I mean, a lot of people are still unemployed.
That's true. And we do definitely keep in mind that this growth is contextualized within the larger retail spending growth that different analysts, as well as ourselves, are looking at. And retail spending overall, certain estimates there have come in at between 1.5 to 2%. So that there's definitely expectation around the growth being a little more down than what we've seen in terms of 4% in previous years. There are some analysts who are already expecting maybe that might tick up if we start to see more by way of stimulus, and we see more, the momentum of people feeling like they want to at least engage in the holiday gift giving and try to put some of that disposable income that would have gone towards, again, travel or some of those other activities towards online gifting. But again, the larger retail landscape, it will be very interesting for us to keep an eye on, because while online is absorbing a lot of offline growth and there is growth from other income groups that are driving online increases, we definitely keep in mind that the larger holiday season will be impacted based on how much support consumers can potentially expect to receive by way of stimulus and essentially their purchase sentiment in terms of things like the election and how that could pan out. So all these different factors are impacting what potential total growth could be expected to be seen for the holiday season. But when we think about the online growth, that's definitely a strong driver in helping businesses continue to drive momentum for consumers who are ready to spend.
And you are also forecasting the types of things that we're going to spend our money on. So tell us.
This is a fun list for us when we look into it during the predictions time period for the holiday season. And what we see is a lot of spending, especially towards toys and games and things like that. And we have perennial favorites. There are these toys called LOL surprise toys. There's toys called Hatchimals. These popular among kids. and they're usually introducing new variants of them, so they continue to stay top of mind on the holiday season for parents. There's also rainbow corns and Tito's. You can tell some of these toy names are not something I'm used to saying very often. And then we also have two major game consoles that are releasing within days of each other in the PlayStation 5 and also the Xbox. So with these types of releases happening, they tend to drive up overall electronic sales and game console sales for that particular space. So we'll be watching those categories to drive up, and then during our actuals reporting time, we also do see things like AirPod Pros and iPhones. There's a new iPhone being released this season. All that sorts of tends to drive up spending.
Very interesting. So you're also seeing a lot of people who haven't gone online to do a lot of shopping before jumping in this year. Tell me about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a real interesting phenomenon for us, because while we have seen incremental increases in newer consumers over the years purchase more and more online, because of the pandemic, it was essentially a forcing function where people who were used to buying online very rarely or sometimes not at all of a sudden found themselves having to buy essentials, PPE, all that online. So as a result, they started to become more accustomed to purchasing goods online on a more frequent basis. I would say retailers have had time to improve their web experiences to make online transacting even easier than it has been in the past. So as we see that happening, we see some of these behaviors take hold and people being more and more receptive to buying certain goods online on a frequent basis. And that type of behavior then folds into the holiday season, and we start to see the growth we're charting right now.
Interesting. And some days you're actually forecasting quite a few days. We're going to be seeing sales online topping $2 billion a day.
That's right. We saw about $1 billion a day every season, every day of the season last year. And because of the growth we're seeing, and even the earlier spending we're seeing, that we're expecting to see $2 billion through much of the season, and then in the last days of November and into early December, we expect that to crank up to $3 billion a day.
$3 billion a day. So does that is that going to pose problems for deliveries and shipping and fulfilling all of this?
This has been the question for us as we've been tracking and charting it, both for the earlier months of the pandemic, when a lot of shipping providers had to manage high velocity shipping requests and orders, and if you ask many of them, they will say they've been operating at holiday levels as early as April. And what we expect is continued momentum on that side of velocity, but we also expect retailers to engage discounts earlier to manage the amount of velocity that comes through on certain days. Also, there's newer channels that are seeing a lot of adoption, like buy online, pick up in store, and curbside pickup, where there's a lot of pre-purchasing online. And then as a result, people are able to avoid shipping costs and pick up the items directly at the store. So that can also help bring down the pressure that shipping providers have on delivering, one-day shipping or rushed or expedited shipping. But it is definitely going to be a period that's going to see a lot of activity for them. And if consumers are able to move their spending and distribute it more evenly throughout the days, and retailers can promote that, then we'll see shippers be able to manage the velocity levels a bit better than if it was concentrated on very specific weeks and days like we have seen in previous years.
Interesting. And we should mention that you've been using Adobe Sensei, which is the artificial intelligence and machine learning technology there, to take a look at all of this and come up with the forecasts.
Yes, Adobe Sensei has allowed us to tap into the vast level of data that we have available to us and apply machine learning to understand where these particular crescendos in online spending will occur. And as a result, we're then able to tap into overall aggregate spending and understand how it will move and change from a top high view level. But then we're also able to get down into sort of granular insights that allow us to understand how certain products will essentially spike and see big surges in demand.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be an interesting shopping season with most of us busy clicking and typing to get it done. Vivek Pandya, thank you for taking the time with us.
Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cooking with the Power of the Sun. Hi, I'm Fred Fishkin, here to tell you about the latest innovation from my friend Patrick Sherwin and his great team at GoSun Stove. The GoSun Fusion has arrived using the company's tried and true reflectors and a solar vacuum tube to get you cooking without the mess of charcoal, heavy propane tanks, or smoke. A really bright idea. And with an optional solar panel and battery storage and the ability to plug in at home or on the road, you really can use the GoSun Fusion to cook anytime and anywhere, day or night, rain or shine. I love what Patrick and his team are doing, and so will you. Want to learn more? Head to gosun.co to check out all of the company's products and innovations and use the code Techstination to save 10%. That's gosun.co.